What if I told you that the Blood Raven's darkest secret was about to be unleashed? The Orks were about to launch their biggest WAAAGH! The Necrons were about to awaken from their eternal slumber, and the Adeptus Mechanicus was about to get their hands on some seriously forbidden tech? That's right, Dawn of War is back, baby, and this ain't your grandma's RTS. We're talking 4 huge campaigns, each one written by Black Library author John French, and they're all set on Kronus, the battlefield that changed everything in the original game. We're talking branching missions, hidden lore threads, and the first ever Dawn of War campaign for the Adeptus Mechanicus. But it doesn't stop there. The lore for this game is so dense, so packed with hidden details, that this could be the biggest Warhammer story to hit gaming since the original Dawn of War, and I am here to break it all down for you. So let's get into it. The original Dawn of War, my friends, was a masterclass in marrying real-time strategy with cinematic storytelling. It gave us some of the most iconic moments in 40K history. Who could forget the opening sequence of the first game? The traitorous Night Lords tearing apart a Space Marine landing party, or the epic final battle where you unite the remaining Brotherhood of the Snake Eyes and face off against the forces of chaos. Games like Total War and Company of Heroes have tried to emulate this style of storytelling, but let's be honest, they haven't come close. Dawn of War was a pioneer, showing us that games can be more than just about winning and losing. They can be about living through an epic tale. Now, Dawn of War 4 is being developed by King Art Games, the folks behind Iron Harvest, a World War I real-time strategy game with a unique dieselpunk twist. At first glance, it might not seem like they'd be the obvious choice to helm a Warhammer 40K game, but hear me out. Iron Harvest had solid reviews. It was praised for its visuals, its base-building gameplay, and its intriguing take on a historical setting. More importantly, though, it showed that King Art Games can handle the kind of complex strategy games that Dawn of War fans are looking for. But the real kicker is this: the original creators of Dawn of War, Creative Assembly, are also on board. They're acting as creative consultants, ensuring that Dawn of War 4 stays true to the spirit of the original game. Now, I know there have been a lot of missteps in the world of Warhammer 40K video games lately. Games that failed to capture the essence of the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. But I think we can all agree that a return to form is on the horizon. It's not just the gameplay and the developers that have me excited, it's also the setting. We've seen so much of the 41st millennium in video games, but Dawn of War 4 is taking us to a place we've rarely seen, Kronus. This planet has been a pivotal part of the Warhammer 40K lore for over 20 years. Yet it's remained largely unexplored in video games. Kronus is the perfect setting for a new Dawn of War game. It's steeped in history, and there's a wealth of lore to draw from. Plus, it's a chance to explore a part of the 41st millennium that feels fresh and new, even though it's been around for decades. If you're a fan of Dawn of War, or if you've been looking for an excuse to get into the Warhammer 40K universe, then Dawn of War 4 is the game you've been waiting for. And I, for one, cannot wait to get my hands on it. The sands of Kronus have run cold. Its skies are empty of both birds and planes, but the only thing quieter than its empty skies is its forgotten history. A past so covered up, buried under mountains of dirt and steel, that you almost forgot it ever happened. For longtime fans of Dawn of War, that name hits hard. It's the setting of Dark Crusade, one of the most legendary campaigns in RTS history. Back then, it wasn't just a story, it was a living war map. 7 factions battling across a planet, each carving out territory, each leaving scars on the land. The Imperial Guard held their fortress cities. The Orks rampaged through the Badlands. The Tau fought tooth and nail to expand their empire. The Necrons awoke from their tombs beneath the deserts. And the Blood Ravens, they were the outsiders. They were dragged into a conflict they couldn't ignore. But no matter who you played as, every time you launched that game, you wrote a different version of history. Would the Tau secure Kronus as a beacon of the greater good? Would the Necrons reclaim it as a tomb world? Or would the Imperium purge it once and for all? But here's the twist. Dawn of War 4 is taking us back to Kronus, back to the world where all those stories collided. And you have to ask yourself why? Why Kronus again? Why not Armageddon or Kaya or some other war-torn world? The answer might be deeper than nostalgia, because Kronus is unfinished business. Think about it. The Necrons weren't truly destroyed. The tombs beneath the deserts, they go on forever. The Orks never stop WAAAGH. They don't die out, they multiply. And the Blood Ravens, they left behind questions. Questions about their origins, about their obsession with relics, questions about what they really found on that planet. And this time, the Adeptus Mechanicus joins the fight, for the first time in Dawn of War history. What does the cult Mechanicus want with Kronus? Ancient Xenos tech, lost STCs, secrets buried deeper than even the Blood Ravens can dig? And it's not just about what the factions want on Kronus, it's how they interact. How the presence of multiple warring factions creates a living, breathing battleground. The same battleground that the Blood Ravens and the Imperial Guard left behind 20 years ago. Have the Orks multiplied again, reclaiming more and more of the land? Has the Tau advanced further, bringing more worlds into the greater good? Or did the Necrons rise again, turning Kronus into another tomb world? These are the questions that keep me up at night, the questions I need answers to. And it's not just the world that's a mystery. The new faction also adds a lot of questions. How will the Adeptus Mechanicus play? Will we see a change in pace with their armies focused on firepower and durable tanks? Or will they rely on a steady stream of cheap infantry to hold objectives? And how will their presence affect the other races? Will the Orks view them as fellow meat-based life forms and potential allies? Or will the Tau see the Adeptus Mechanicus as a threat to the greater good? And what about the Blood Ravens? What will their role be in a world where the tech priests walk the earth? Will we get more insight into their mysterious past? Will we learn more about their connection to the Emperor? And what exactly are they searching for in the ruins of old Earth? These are the questions that I hope Dawn of War 4 answers, because it's not enough to simply return to Kronus. No, we have to understand why the Blood Ravens came back. What drew them to this long-forgotten world? Was it the whispers of the past? Was it a faint signal cutting through the static of the warp? Or was it the echo of a tragedy that still haunted the Imperium? Kronus isn't just a battlefield, it's a stage. A crossroads where old wars resurface, where ancient powers awaken, and where secrets too dangerous to uncover might finally be revealed. And with John French writing the story, you know it won't just be surface level. It'll be full of conspiracies, betrayals, and secrets that cut to the heart of Warhammer 40k. So when people say Dawn of War 4 is going back to Kronus, they're not just saying, hey, remember this old map. They're saying, we're reopening a war that never really ended. The Blood Ravens. If you've played Dawn of War before, you know these guys. If not, let me catch you up. They're a Space Marine chapter with one massive problem. Nobody knows where they came from. Their origins? A complete mystery, even to themselves. Some whisper they're descended from the Thousand Sons, the traitor legion of sorcerers. Others think they're a lost loyalist chapter, erased from Imperial records. But one thing is clear, they're obsessed with relics. In every campaign, in every story, the Blood Ravens are always chasing artifacts, digging through ruins, taking what doesn't belong to them, and earning a reputation for being, let's just say, a little sticky-fingered. Now think about this. We're going back to Kronus, a planet crawling with lost technology, buried tombs, secrets older than the Imperium itself. Do you really think the Blood Ravens are there just to fight Orks? Not a chance. This is personal for them, because Kronus is tied to their past. In Dark Crusade, the Blood Ravens fought brutally across the planet, and depending on your playthrough, they either saved it or burned it to ash. But the unanswered questions remain. Why are they always so drawn to planets hiding secrets? Why do they covet artifacts that should be locked away? And what truth are they really searching for? Here's where it gets even spicier. The story for Dawn of War 4 is being written by John French. If you know his Black Library novels, you know he thrives on mystery and corruption, hidden truths, characters who wrestle with secrets that can shatter everything. So imagine this, a Blood Ravens campaign where you slowly uncover not just relics, but the truth of their origin. Maybe a tie to chaos, maybe a betrayal from within, maybe something darker. And remember, this is a branching campaign, so choices matter. Do you keep a relic? Do you destroy it? Do you hand it over to the Adeptus Mechanicus? Each decision could ripple into other storylines. Picture this. You hoard a relic as the Blood Ravens. Then later in the Mechanicus campaign, they're furious because you denied them sacred knowledge. Or maybe you give it up, only to regret it when the Necrons awaken because of what the Mechanicus uncovered. That's how deep this story could go. And the Blood Ravens, with their obsession for secrets, are the perfect faction to tie it all together. So when you see them dropping from orbit in Dawn of War 4, don't just think, oh cool, more space marines. Think, what truths are they hiding this time? And will Kronus finally expose the secret they've been guarding for centuries? The Orks, loud, chaotic, and unstoppable. Wherever there's war in the galaxy, there are Orks. They don't just love fighting, they live for it. It's not a strategy, it's not politics, it's in their DNA. In Dawn of War 4, the Orks return as a full campaign faction, and if you've ever played them before, you know exactly what that means. Scrap-built war machines, jury-rigged fortresses, a way that only grows stronger the longer the fight drags on. Here's the thing about Orks. The more they believe something will work, the more it does. That's Ork science. Paint a vehicle red, it goes faster. Slap spikes on your armor, suddenly you're tougher. It's absurd, it's hilarious, and it's terrifying when you realize just how many of them there are. Now imagine Kronus through the eyes of the Orks. An entire planet turned into a scrap heap battlefield. Old Necron tombs ripped open and looted for shiny parts. Mechanicus forges raided for weapons they don't understand, but somehow make deadlier. Even Bloodraven relics, stolen and strapped onto Ork warbosses as trophies. That's not just gameplay, that's pure Ork lore in action. Because Orks don't care about ancient secrets. They don't care about galactic politics. They just want a bigger fight. And the presence of space marines, Necrons, and the Mechanicus, that's like ringing a dinner bell for the WAAAGH! Here's what makes their campaign interesting. The developers confirmed branching paths. So what does a branching Ork story look like? Maybe one path puts you under the thumb of a massive war boss. Another might let you rise up and take the crown yourself. Or maybe your choices decide just how big the WAAAGH gets. A localized scrapfest, or a full-blown Ork invasion that swallows the planet whole. And here's something to think about. In Warhammer lore, Orks have accidentally threatened the galaxy more than once, because when a WAAAGH grows too big, it doesn't stop. It snowballs. It becomes a tide of green that even the Imperium struggles to contain. So in Dawn of War 4, the Orks might not just be comic relief. They could be the most dangerous wildcard on Kronus, a faction that doesn't play by anyone's rules, not the Imperium, not the Mechanicus, not even their own. And that makes them perfect for this kind of game. Because while the Blood Ravens are hunting relics, while the Mechanicus are chanting to their machine gods, and while the Necrons are awakening from their tombs, the Orks are just here to smash everything. It's simple, it's brutal, and it's exactly what keeps the galaxy burning. So when you fire up the Ork campaign in Dawn of War 4, expect chaos, expect laughter, expect giant war machines made out of scrap and duct tape, and above all else, expect the loudest, greenest WAAAGH Kronus has ever seen. The Necrons, the oldest enemy in the galaxy, and the one you never see coming. Long before the Imperium, long before humanity, the Necrons ruled the stars. a galactic empire of living metal, cold, immortal, and utterly merciless. They traded their souls for eternal life and became machines, tomb worlds buried across the galaxy, silent, waiting for the time was right to awaken. Kronus is one of those worlds. In Dark Crusade, we saw what happens when their tombs stir, endless legions rising from the sands, phalanxes of warriors marching without fear or hesitation. And now in Dawn of War 4, the Necrons return to finish what they started. Here's what makes them terrifying. You can kill a Necron warrior, but unless you utterly destroy it, the body will just reassemble. They rise again and again and again until there's nothing left of you. Now imagine that gameplay translated into a full campaign, a branching story where you don't just awaken one tomb, you awaken dynasties, rival overlords and powers that have been slumbering for millions of years. Who will lead them? That's the big question. Is it a returning overlord from Dark Crusade, or a new figure, one tied deeper to the galaxy's ancient past? With John French writing the story, don't be surprised if we see Necron characters with complex rivalries scheming against each other, even as they crush everything in their path. And here's the lore hook that makes Kronus so dangerous. What else is buried under that planet? Because when the Necrons awaken, they don't just reclaim what's theirs. They reshape the battlefield itself. Cities become tomb fortresses. Ruins turn into pylons of power. And every other faction suddenly finds themselves fighting not just the Necrons, but the planet itself, turning against them. Picture this. As the Blood Ravens, you uncover a relic. It's glowing with unknown energy. You think it's a weapon. You think it's power. But in the Necron campaign, you learn the truth. That relic wasn't a gift. It was a key, and you just unlocked something you were never meant to touch. That's the brilliance of branching campaigns, because the Necrons aren't just another enemy army. They're a force that rewrites the rules of the battlefield, and Kronus may not survive their awakening this time. So when you see those glowing green eyes light up in Dawn of War 4, remember this. The Orks will smash, the Blood Ravens will scheme, the Mechanicus will calculate, but the Necrons, they will endure, they always endure. The Adeptus Mechanicus, priests of the machine god. For millennia, they've roamed the galaxy, scavenging, repairing, and worshipping technology so ancient, even they barely understand it. Now, I've got a confession to make. I never thought we'd see the day. I never thought we'd see the Mechanicus get their first mainline campaign in Dawn of War history. And that's a big deal because the Mechanicus aren't just another Imperial faction. Oh no, not by a long shot. They're almost their own empire within the Imperium. Bound to the Emperor, yes, but ruled by their own dogma, their own religion, their own vision for the galaxy. Now, if you're a fan of the lore, you know the drill. Every machine has a spirit. Every weapon, every engine, every tank. To build, to repair, to even touch technology. The Mechanicus perform sacred rites, chant prayers, burn incense. To outsiders, it looks like superstition. To the Mechanicus, it's the only way to keep the machines alive. And it's not just about maintaining vehicles and weapons. It's about keeping the machine god awake. It's about preventing the galaxy from descending into darkness once again. And now, imagine how this plays into Dawn of War 4. Because their bases aren't just factories, they're temples. Their buffs aren't just numbers on a stat sheet. They're rituals, litanies of maintenance, binary hymns that make their units stronger. And Kronus, it's a treasure trove for them. Because where the Blood Ravens see relics, the Mechanicus see forbidden blueprints. Where the Orks see scrap metal, the Mechanicus see innovation. And where the Necrons see a tomb, the Mechanicus see technology older than mankind itself. So when the Adeptus Mechanicus enters the fray in Dawn of War 4, they aren't just another faction. They are a game changer. Their presence introduces a whole new element of strategy and choice. Because let's face it, when the Adeptus Mechanicus shows up, the relic game changes. And in a branching story, those choices could shape everything. Do you seize Necron tech and risk corruption? Do you fight the blood ravens over relics they claim are theirs? Do you push too far, tearing open the planet in the name of progress? Or do you restrain yourself, preserving the balance but holding back your own potential? Now, with John French at the helm, you can bet the Mechanicus story won't be simple. Expect mysteries, expect betrayals, and expect the uncomfortable truth that sometimes the greatest threat to humanity comes not from Xenos or heretics, but from humanity's own obsession with knowledge. So when you hear the static-laced chants of the Mechanicus in Dawn of War 4, remember this: they're not here just to fight. They're here to claim, to discover, to uncover secrets no one else should touch. And in the grim darkness of the far future, that hunger for knowledge might be the deadliest weapon of all. 4 factions, 4 campaigns, and they're not just running side by side, they're colliding. The devs have confirmed it. Dawn of War 4's story is branching. Your choices don't just shape one path, they ripple into the others. That's where all the lore we've talked about starts to tie together. The Blood Ravens are chasing relics. The Mechanicus are digging for forbidden tech. The Necrons are awakening beneath the surface. And the Orks? They're smashing through all of it like a wrecking ball. One planet, one war, 4 different agendas crashing into each other. Picture this: the Blood Ravens uncover a hidden vault. Inside, something ancient, something powerful. Do they keep it for themselves? Do they destroy it to protect humanity, or hand it to the Mechanicus knowing it could change everything? Whichever choice you make, that vault doesn't just vanish. It reappears in another campaign as a holy relic to the Mechanicus, as a threat to the Necrons, as shiny loot in the eyes of the Orks. That's the magic of branching campaigns. You're not just replaying the same war 4 times, you're unlocking 4 perspectives on the same conflict. And only by playing them all do you start to see the bigger picture of what Kronus really is. And here's the kicker: the story isn't written by just anyone. It's written by John French, one of Black Library's most layered storytellers. That means we can expect conspiracies, secrets hidden in plain sight, and plot twists that only make sense when you've seen every side of the war. So when you hear 70 missions, 4 campaigns, branching paths, don't just think content. Think story. Think replayability. Think lore threads woven so tight the only way to unravel them is to fight this war from every angle. That's how Dawn of War 4 is different. It's not just telling one story, it's telling 4 stories that bleed into each other until you realize they're all part of the same truth. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a war to finish. In Dawn of War, gameplay has always been more than mechanics. It's lore in motion. Think about sync kills, those brutal finishes where a space marine drives a chainsword straight through an orc, or where a Necron warrior rips a guardsman apart with mechanical precision. They aren't just flashy animations, they're the brutality of the 41st millennium brought to the screen. Every sync kill reminds you, this isn't a clean war, it's cruel, it's personal, it's Warhammer. Dawn of War 4 is bringing that back. Thousands of animation permutations, so every fight feels cinematic. Every clash feels like it could be a cutscene ripped straight from a Black Library novel. And then there's base building. It's not just construction, it's faction identity. The Blood Ravens don't just build barracks. They build bastions of the Imperium, shrines of faith, symbols of order in a world of chaos. The Orks? Their bases are junkyards, scrap piles hammered together until they somehow work. The more insane it looks, the more orky it feels. And it's not just decoration, that chaos is their lore. The Necrons don't expand like anyone else. They awaken. Structures phasing in from the tombs beneath the ground, silent, inevitable, unstoppable. Their bases aren't built. They rise like the dead clawing their way out of the earth. And the Adeptus Mechanicus. Their bases are temples, every factory a shrine, every upgrade a litany. You're not just building an army, you're performing rituals to awaken the machine spirits. Even the way each faction fights is storytelling. Blood Ravens drop pods, smashing into battlefields, reinforcing from orbit. Orks flood the map with swarms, overwhelming everything with numbers and noise. Necrons march slowly but relentlessly, shrugging off wounds and teleporting where they please. The Mechanicus amplify each other through buffs, blessings, and forbidden technology, a network of synergy that mirrors their collective devotion to the Omnissiah. That's what makes Dawn of War different. It's not just about who has the bigger army. It's about watching factions express their lore through every mechanic. So when you hear Sync Kills are back, don't think gimmick, think grimdark. Think cinematic storytelling that hits you in the gut every time two warriors clash. And when you build that first base, remember, you're not just constructing buildings, you're shaping the battlefield in the image of your faction, a mirror of who they are and why they fight. That's what makes Dawn of War 4 more than just an RTS. It's Warhammer 40k brought to life, not just in cutscenes, but in every move you make. Kronus is more than just a battlefield. It's a wound that never healed, a place where wars never truly ended. And in Dawn of War 4, those scars are being torn open again. 4 factions, 4 campaigns, 4 visions of the same war, and every path leads to the same truth, that Kronus holds secrets older than the Imperium, secrets no one should ever uncover. The Blood Ravens think they can claim them, the Mechanicus believe they can master them. The Necrons know they were never meant for anyone else. And the Orks, they'll smash through everything just to see what's inside. But here's the question, when the smoke clears, when Kronus is finally silent, what will be left of the planet? What will be left of the factions who fought for it? And what truths will the galaxy be forced to face? Because in the grim darkness of the far future, nothing ever stays buried. If you want every hidden detail and lore, twist in Dawn of War 4, broken down the second it drops, hit subscribe and stay tuned.